Orangutan cantaloupes. That's the intro. OCs, original characters. You've got them, I've got them, but more importantly, you've got them. And I asked you guys on Twitter to send me your OCs so I could draw them in my strange, goofy, ever-changing style. And to be honest, I was very blown away by how many submissions I actually got. It warms my heart to know that there's still people out there interested in my content. And I will try to be more consistent with uploading. It's just, times are tough. What are you gonna do? Anyway, I chose 3 of these OCs to redraw, and the following is my attempt at those OCs. So without further ado, here we go. So the first submission is from Bird. I don't know their actual name, but that's what they're called in my Discord server. I have a following on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all these different places, and the problem is that everyone's got a different username for everything. So sometimes I confuse people, like I'm talking to one person and I don't realize that they're actually a different person, or they're the same person because it's a different username. It's really confusing, even though I can't really complain since, I've had like 9 million different names. I mean, this channel alone has had like, I think 4 or 5 different name changes. I don't even know what the name is right now. Like, it could be something, hopefully it's that one cat. It could be orangutan cantaloupe. I don't know. It could be literally anything. So this OC's name is Badger. I'm gonna call him Badger the Bounty Hunter because he looks like a bounty hunter to me. He's definitely a robot. That's definitely established. But the bounty hunter thing, I'm not really sure. He's definitely not a badger. That much I know. I don't get out much, but I'm pretty sure badgers don't run around with machetes. If they do, we got a lot of problems going on. So the first thing I do is I start out with a thumbnail sketch, which can just be as basic as just a stick figure. It's basically just a way to plan out the pose before you get into the nitty gritty and just kind of like get a good visualization of what you want this gesture pose thing to look like. So since he's kind of a bounty hunter, as I'm making up now and adding it to his lore, I wanted to give him more of like a run and gun kind of pose. So I kind of posed him with his hand cannon kind of out in front of him as he's running into combat or danger, or wherever he goes, wherever bounties are, he hunts them. I've kind of explained this a few times throughout my streams and things, that sketching is super important, if not the most important. I think it's the most important phase, or the most important step in making any piece of artwork. Sketching should be about 80% of everything you do when you're putting together a piece, whatever it may be. Sketching is super important because you don't want to focus too much on one specific spot and like overdevelop one spot, and then you realize, you'll be, drawing an eye and you get the eye perfect and it just looks nice and you get the shading right, and then you go to do the other eye and you realize it's on his forehead, like it's in some weird spot where you didn't want it to be. So it's really important to keep the sketch loose. Don't focus on too much detail, just kind of like figure it out. That's the most important part, because once you get to the line art, once you get to the color, it's really hard to change anything about your drawing. You especially with line art. Depending, like if it's vector based, sometimes it's a little bit easier, but I'm assuming most people are going to be using raster, which is pretty much just like Photoshop, so you want to keep everything loose and make sure your sketch is 100% as you want it before you start doing anything else. This is something that I messed up a lot when I was starting off with drawing, is I would just kind of like and just sketch, and it was just like whatever, like well, this step is stupid, and then I would go right into the line art and then realize, oh my god, like his head is in the wrong spot, or his arms look weird, or one arm is like way longer than the other, or he's got like 6 legs and it's not working out. Like it looks really goofy and it's not really what I wanted. But once you're already in like the color step or the line step, you can't really go backwards, so sketching is super important. Remember that, people watching this, you right there, you're probably sketching right now. You keep sketching until it's perfect. Lately I've been trying to draw a lot of other people's artwork to learn a lot more about just design and just line weight, line quality, just like color, everything, like just learning everything. I feel like drawing other people's artwork really helps you develop your own creativity, because when you look at a picture, you might not pick up all the details right away, but when you draw something, your brain sort of engages in a different way, and it forces you to really observe. It makes you a much better observer, and you see details that maybe you didn't notice before, and it helps you kind of learn how to draw your own stuff, because then you can take that knowledge of what you learned drawing someone else's stuff, and it helps you a lot, especially when trying to draw from your imagination, because in that way you can kind of like apply those things that you learned to your own drawings, and you can make them better. So as a catnip tip, is that a thing? Catnip tip? That sounds weird. I don't know if I might want to cut that out. I don't want to get demonetized. Anyway, as a cool quick tip, draw a lot of other people's artwork. Find artists that you like and just copy their artwork. It's an awesome way. Don't plagiarize their work. There's a difference there. Don't upload someone else's artwork or draw someone else's artwork and don't credit them. Copy it as in like redraw it yourself. If you do post it somewhere, definitely credit them because they deserve the credit for it. The color palette for this was kind of weird, because if anyone knows me and my artwork, you'll know that I usually stick to more blues and greens. I usually stick with a lot more cooler colors because hot colors scare me. like reds and yellows, especially yellow. If anyone's ever watched my stream, you know I hate the color yellow. Like, the yellow is such a weird color to work with because it can go one of two ways. Either it looks gold or it looks like piss. Like, there's no middle ground with yellow. Yellow to me is such a tricky color to work with. It either looks like cheese or it looks like piss. There's no in between. Like, there's no working with that stupid ass color. I hate it so much. One day, like, that will be my milestone as an amazing artist. I'll know I've made it when I can incorporate the color yellow and it doesn't look like cheese or piss or cheesy piss. You don't want either. You don't want any of that. You never want someone to look at your artwork and go, that looks like cheesy piss, good job. So with this color palette, it really forced me to try and use different colors that I don't usually use. Like, I usually don't use a lot of like browns and reds and yellows and oranges, but I think I did all right with this. Like, I tried to color pick with just my eyeballs. Like, that's a really good skill to develop, is to be able to see a color and be able to make it on your own. There is a lot of use in just using the color picker and picking a color. Obviously, it's faster. If you're someone who works in an industry that you need speed and all that stuff, then yeah, go for it. Use the color picker. But I think it's a good skill to develop, to be able to just use your eye and be able to figure out what that color is and choose it on your own. But that's just me. I don't know. That's just how I see it. As for actually applying the color, I try to go with, I'm constantly trying to experiment with different ways to add color to a painting, because, you know, as an animator, I was so used to just, you know, pick a color, paint bucket, drop it in, you know, like I'm so used to just like using, like, because vector, you can just fill in big spaces of color really easily, which is the paint bucket tool. So I've been trying to use different techniques. Like, sometimes I'll do a separate layer for every color, and then sometimes, like, I feel like that's too messy though. I feel like that's just like too much extra work. And then sometimes I try to add all the color onto one layer. Like, I understand the benefits. Obviously, if everything's on its own separate color, or everything's on its own separate layer, you can easily edit things. You can change things, and you don't have to worry about, you know, mistakes or overlapping anything. But it's kind of nice to have all the color on one layer. Like, it just feels right. Like, I don't know how to explain. It just feels more painterly to do it that way. That's how Bob Ross did it. He didn't have multiple layers that I know of. I don't know. He might have been a wizard or something. He had different canvases that he layered on top of each other. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I kind of got that idea from watching Bob Ross the one time. I'm like, maybe I should just try to put everything on one layer. And actually, to this day, that's what I've been doing, is I've been trying to keep everything on its own layer, and then the shading I put on a separate layer. Unfortunately, OBS Studio was being really stupid, and it didn't it didn't record the last session that I did where I did the shading. But the way I did the shading was I basically just put it on a separate layer. So the color was on one layer and the shading was on its own layer, and I just overlaid it onto the color. OBS is really stupid, and from after this video, I'm probably just gonna use Procreate to record everything. I like using Clip Studio Paint for just like sketching and just drawing and stuff like that, just for like practicing and whatnot. But anything that I do that's more of like a finished piece that I know I'm gonna post somewhere, I usually like to just use Procreate, because Procreate records everything as you're drawing it, and there's nothing you have to edit out. It only records when your pencil touches the screen. And I'm not affiliated or sponsored by Procreate or anything, but it's an awesome program. I really wish they'd make it for the desktop. I think it's only for the iPad right now, but it's an incredible piece of artwork, or piece of program. It's only $10 too, I think. At the time when I bought it, it was only $10. So if you're a beginner artist or you're just looking for some new cool stuff, go check out Procreate. You probably already know about Procreate. It's actually pretty it's like me saying, hey, you guys heard about Jesus? Like, it's pretty popular. I'm pretty sure everyone knows about it, but just for that one dude, you know who you are. You're sitting there eating your popcorn. You're like, oh shit, Procreate, that sounds pretty cool. I think I'll check that out. So here he is, Badger the Bounty Hunter, the finished piece. Just as a reminder, I post most of my artwork on Instagram. Sometimes I post on DeviantArt. I'm not really sure if DeviantArt's worth it at this point. And then sometimes I post it on Twitter too. But Twitter's really weird with the way it crops stuff, because sometimes I'll post a picture and it just focuses on the legs or something. I don't understand why Twitter doesn't allow you to just crop stuff the way you want to crop it. What's wrong with that? I don't understand why that wouldn't be an option. But Instagram and DeviantArt are usually the places where I post my stuff, so you can see that on the screen right now. Please go follow me there. That's where you'll see all the finished pieces that I'm doing in this video posted. So go check it out, please. Alright, numero 2. This one is from Pootis, as he's known in my Discord server. I think he's also known as Pootis on Twitch. I think he's Creepy Yellow Cat on YouTube though. I'm not really sure. I don't know. They've been around for a long time. They've been a great supporter of mine, and I think that this person makes really cool pixel art. As you can see here, he didn't say a name, I don't think, so I'm just gonna call this one Beetle. So we got Badger and Beetle. He said it's a post-apocalyptic purple beetle with a robot hand and a cool cape, and I think he's a neat little guy. I also think Pootis is a neat little guy. I think you're all neat little guys and gals. You're all cool. Thank you for watching. Also, leave a like. Anyway, so yeah, let's jump right into this. With this one, I tried to keep him in the same proportions as the original. So I tried to go for more of a chibi kind of looking character. Because lately I've been trying to go more towards realism. I've been drawing a lot more people and stuff like that. Because I used to be an animator, and people were not really something I was good at drawing. I think a lot of the people that I drew looked horrifying. If I could find a picture of Jacksepticeye that I drew for one of my last animations that I did, he looks disgusting. I don't know why I ever uploaded that, and I was like, yeah, this looks good. This looks fine. It just looks terrible. I could not draw people, which is why I kind of made that one cat in the first place. It's just why I kind of gravitated more towards drawing cat characters, was because there wasn't as much of a preconception for what that would look like. I could kind of make it whatever I wanted to make it. Whereas with a person, if it doesn't look like a person, it's obvious. But if it's a cartoon, there's a lot more creative license, I think it's called. There's a lot more leeway. You can kind of get away with a lot more. But I was tempted. I was very tempted to draw this character a lot more realistic looking. Because sometimes I find it really funny when stuff is hyper realistic, disgustingly realistic, or a character is normally cartoony and they draw them very realistic, or they draw them more human, they have more human proportions. That can be really funny. But I wanted to respect Pootis, respect Beetle, and try to draw something more along the lines of a cartoony style. which looks a little bit more closely to what the pixel style was. I don't think I shaded this the same way that I shaded Badger. I think what I did with Badger was I just had a clipping mask and I just sort of shaded within the mask. But with this one, what I tried to do was to create selections with the selection tool and just shade within those. So basically you make a shape with the selection tool and you just draw within that selection. It's nice because you don't have to have tons of layers and you can just sort of create the selections as you go. But the downside is that you can't save the selections. I think maybe you can, and maybe I'm just stupid, but I'm pretty sure in Corel Painter, I'm pretty sure you can save selections, and what it will do is it'll save it as a layer. I don't know if you can do that with Clip Studio. I don't even know if you can do that with Photoshop, but I'll have to check that. I don't know if anyone knows if you can do that, where you make a selection and then you save the selection, because otherwise it just goes away as soon as you deselect it. But it's a really good way to like keep everything on one layer and keep everything organized and just kind of like do it on the fly. And yeah, I mean it's nice, and you know, with something like Procreate, you can't really like, I love Procreate a lot, but you can't really have a lot of layers, especially as your canvas size gets bigger and bigger. It limits the amount of layers you can have. So using selections to shade your stuff or color your stuff might actually be a pretty good technique if you want to try it out. So in talking about all this color stuff, I'm just always looking for a different way to approach color. I mean, some artists they make a layer for everything, for every single shape, for every single color. It has its own layer. Some artists like to make a mask, like they'll make a mask of the entire person. And basically what that does is it creates like a boundary where you can't paint outside of it. And that's a little bit closer to what I like to do. I just like to make a mask and just kind of color within the mask. And then some people like to do everything on one layer. And I think I'm kind of finding a balance between masking everything and keeping everything to 1 or 2 layers. I'm sure tomorrow I'll probably try something completely different. But it just seems like that's what works best for me. So I guess if you're an artist and you're listening to this, you just have to try out a bunch of different techniques and see which one works for you. So here he is, the finished Beetle. I hope Pootis enjoys this. I hope you all enjoy this. I really like Pootis' designs. He makes a lot of pixel art and posts it on my Discord. Eventually, one day, I will open the Discord up to everybody. I don't know why I haven't done that yet. Maybe there is a link in the description for Discord now. But I used to have a Discord, and I used to stream on Twitch and stuff, and it's basically just like the remnants of those people who stuck around and have been really supportive and trying to get me to make more videos. So I hope those people are happy. I hope you're watching this. I really appreciate you guys' support. It really means a lot to me that you still want to watch my stuff. My weird, goofy self. But yeah, hopefully one day Pootis is a famous game designer and he'll put me in one of his games. So thank you, Pootis, from me from the future, for putting me in your new awesome game called Beetle Warrior. Last but certainly not least, we have Geeky Girl 75, and her submission is Vampire. That's all I wrote. I don't know. I think this is from Twitter. I don't think they gave me a name. I probably should have wrote down where all these submissions came from. But I'm not responsible. I can't organize anything. It's a miracle I even made this video in the first place. So I don't know. But if you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I'm trying to move away from the more cartoony style that I'm used to, that I used to do in all the animations, and like that's kind of like where I started, was more like cartoons and just really bad looking stuff. So this was my chance to really flex my new skills at drawing people. So I wanted to turn this cartoony character into more of a realistic, I guess like anime style. I don't even know what kind of style you would call it, but it leans more towards realism. And again, I start by being very sketch-tastic. You don't want to go into too much detail, you just want to feel out the whole pose. I tried to make him a little bit more guarded, kind of like angsty looking, because I feel like he's kind of like a teenager kind of character. So I made him very angsty, like a Hot Topic angsty cashier who really doesn't want to talk to you, but they have to because it's their job. Or someone from Zoomies who constantly walks up to you and bothers you. I don't even know if Zoomies is still around. This might be a super dated reference, but whatever. That one person watching this is like, oh my god, I remember that when you go into Zoomies and they attack you and they constantly bother you while all you're trying to do is look for clothes. I'm not trying to make a damn investment. I just want to find pants. You don't need to follow me around the store and ask me stupid ass questions. Another catnip tip. I don't know if I should make that a thing because I feel like that's gonna turn out to be something horrible. Anyway, the catnip tip number 2 or 3 or whichever one this was is to zoom out. It sounds like such a basic thing, but you want to zoom out every so often. Because, especially for me, I definitely I was so close to my drawing all the time. Whatever it was I was drawing, I would stay so zoomed in that I didn't notice all the mistakes on the outside, you know, like on the periphery of my vision. And it's really hard to get a sense of the entire piece if you're so zoomed in all the time. So you might mess up the anatomy, or the gesture might not look right, or maybe something's just not in the right place. Maybe his arm is coming out of his head. You didn't really mean that. So a good tip is to zoom out every so often. Just look at the entire sketch, look at the entire piece, and make sure that you're drawing it correctly. Make sure that all the proportions are the way you want them to be. Because if you're super zoomed in, you're gonna make mistakes, and you might not notice them. Speaking of sketchy, I tried to make the lines a little bit more sketchy. I think something with my older work was that I used, I mean, this is also just like your preference. For me, I like stuff that looks a little bit more sketchy when the line art isn't like super solid, it isn't like perfect. Because sometimes, especially with digital art, that can be sort of the downfall of digital art, is it looks too perfect, it looks too clean. And even when you use, I mean, you can offset that with using different line weights, with using like occlusion shadows. I'm probably saying that wrong. I don't know. Shadows that are from the form when it casts a shadow on itself, if that makes any sense. I like little shadows and stuff like that. You can use different line weights, different line thicknesses to sort of offset that. But to me, it always seemed like it just looked too harsh. You know, it's too sharp. Like the lines were way too sharp. And two things that I've done a little bit differently lately that I've learned is to, for one, to change the line color to something not black. I don't really like using pure black for my line art. I just feel like it looks too harsh, unless it's something that I'm drawing is like really dark. But a lot of the stuff that I draw is more light, so I want to keep it, like, I try to make it a little bit lighter, so I'll use maybe like a brown or like a dark red or something like that, or a dark blue. Depending on the colors that are around it, obviously you want to change the color of the line art. And the other thing is I've been trying to use different textured brushes to do the line art. And I also, I'm not too loose with the lines, but as you can see, like, I'm not being perfect with it. Like, I'm letting, sometimes the line goes a little off, but I think that's okay. It gives it like a little bit of motion. It has a little bit of life, you know? Because like in normal artwork, you kind of see that with pencil sketches. Like, pencil sketches aren't like always perfect, but it almost has like a life of its own. Like, it just feels like it's got some movement to it. I also don't know if you can tell, but in this one, I created a mask and I attempted to do the color in grayscale, which is another way of adding color that I didn't mention yet. What you can do is you can do stuff in grayscale and then lay color over it. So basically what this does is you lay in all the tones, you lay in all the highlights and the shadows, and then you just put a layer of color over it, like a single flat color, and it picks up, I think it's overlay, if you use the filter or the layer setting overlay. What it will do is it will pick up all the tones, and it's almost like it shades it like by itself. Like, it shades all the colors, and but it looks, some people can do it and they do it really well, but whenever I do it, the color looks off. Like, the colors just don't look, they look really desaturated and they just look weird. Like, I don't know, there's something uncanny about it. Like, they just don't look right. So I think I stopped doing the grayscale in this one, and I just went with the straight color. I just tried using painting on everything in one color and then using another layer to add the shading. I've also been watching a lot of Ross Draws recently. I just found out who that guy was. I had no idea. There's so many great people on YouTube that I don't know about, and I feel ashamed to call myself an artist, and I don't know all these people. I thought the only artists on YouTube were like Draw with Jazza and Lavender Town. Like, that's all that I really watch. So I didn't know there was any other ones, but I recently just started watching Ross Draws and Ethan Becker. He's really funny too. Great artists, and Ross Draws is known for like his color dodge thing. I didn't know what color dodge was, but now that I know what it is, I'm like addicted to it. Like, I keep adding it here and there in all my painting. Like, I don't even know what it does. Like, it just makes it look better. It's weird. It's just like an overlay setting that you can just make stuff look better. I think what it does is it like picks up the color underneath and it makes it more saturated or something. I don't know. It's magic. It's literally magic. And I tried to add a little bit of color dodge on his face, a little bit on the nose and on the ears and on the cheek, and it just like makes the color pop. It just like adds this little like almost like whimsical, mystical look to it. So here's my take on Geeky Girl 75's vampire character. Alright everybody, well that was the 3 OCs that I tried to draw that you guys submitted. I had a lot of fun. Drawing these. It's always really cool to see other people's designs, and it's really inspiring to see other people's artwork. And it's cool to like get in there and redraw stuff and kind of learn a little bit as well. I learned a lot from just drawing these 3 things. There's like little design choices and things that I'm gonna add to my own drawings now that I never like noticed before. Like, it's really cool. I think it's a really good learning lesson. Or a good lesson. It's a good lesson for learning art and things like that, and just like improving your own drawing skill. It's really good to redraw other people's artwork. So thank you so much for everyone that submitted stuff. I'm sorry if I didn't get to the one that you submitted. If you guys want me to make another one of these videos, please let me know in the comments and leave a like. That's how I know if you liked it or not. So yeah, go figure. And if you guys want to send me more OCs to draw, you can send them to me on Twitter, which is right here. I think that's the best way to send me stuff. I think, I'm not really sure. If anyone has like a better way that people can send me stuff, just let me know in the comments, because I have no idea. So yeah, just send me stuff on Twitter, tag me in it, and I'll try to get through another 3 or even more if I can do them a little bit faster. And yeah, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And if you guys have any suggestions for more things you'd like to see me draw or do, please let me know in the comments. I'm going to try to stream at least like once a week, and I'm going to try to upload at least once a week. So turn on those notifications and stay tuned for more. And thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a good day.